Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel. There's one thing I want to highlight to you. Maybe I should highlight this before. When you read the history of the Israelites whom the Lord delivered out of Egypt, I'm talking about that generation that was delivered. That also includes a generation before that of the elder people, but the people that lived then, that were delivered, I want to talk about them. Because you know the history, they refused the presence of God, so God gave them the Ten Commandments. So the Ten Commandments were never God's intention to begin with, but He gave it onto them to reveal their negativity, because they refused to be led by Christ directly. Okay, but you know that after that, man, they attacked Moses, plotted evil against Moses, they were murmuring, complaining. Oh, that people was a toll on Moses. God even proposed to Moses, Moses, these people are only going to burden you. Let me destroy them, and through you, I'll bring forth another nation. But Moses told the Most High, Lord, if you destroy them now, this is going to look bad onto you in future generations. And you know what? The Lord did not intend to wipe out the Israelites. He wanted to reveal Moses' character, because Moses looked at the bigger picture. Look at that. Moses looked at the bigger picture. Okay? That is what Christ revealed here. The people there, they don't look at the bigger picture. Because if they would have looked at the bigger picture, they would have realized how fortunate they were. Egypt was destroyed. Pharaoh's army was gone. There was no military power in the world that would ever threaten them. They had the wealth of Egypt. So they had the wealth of the world. I mean, what? They have all these blessings, all these goods, and they were still murmuring and complaining? What? Okay, about those Israelite people, they had so much willpower, they had so much will against Moses. Why didn't they use that will against Pharaoh? When they were in Egypt, and by the way, they were the majority in Egypt, there were more Israelites in Egypt than Egyptians. When they were in Egypt, why didn't they revolt against Pharaoh? Nor Pharaoh's officers. Why didn't they will against Pharaoh that was oppressing them? No, when they were in Egypt, they just accept things as they are. They accepted so-called reality, even though that reality was oppressing them. And that reality was even reality at all. It was a constructed reality. It was irreality that was enforced onto them at their expense. So they had all the right and all the motive to revolt and to turn on their leaders, who were the Egyptians. Why didn't they do it? No. Now that they're out of Egypt, that Egypt has been destroyed, now that they have freedom under Christ, because there's no freedom outside of Christ, now suddenly they have this will against Moses. They have this willpower to revolt and to resist. Why didn't they revolt and resist against Pharaoh? Here's what I want to reveal unto you. They longed for Egypt. They were physically removed from Egypt, and the Egypt they were removed from was destroyed. Egypt still existed as a country and as a nation, but the Egypt they were in bondage in didn't exist anymore. But here's the thing, that Egypt that was gone was still inside of them. They longed for the validation of Egypt. Their mind was they had an Egyptian mindset. They were still into those Egyptian gods. They were attached to the relief of Egypt. Now don't get me wrong. In the world, you will have relaxation. You can go to a pub, you can go to the swimming pool. There's nothing wrong with relaxation. But I'm not talking about relaxation, I'm talking about relief. They were attached to the relief of Egypt. They had not detached themselves from Egypt. They wanted to be relieved from the heaviness of slavery. But they did not want to get rid of the validation that Egypt provided. And here's the thing, you can't have the validation without the slavery. So now the slavery was gone, but they still wanted the validation. So what happened? Collectively, they recreated the tensions that they had in Egypt. And Pharaoh was not around. So whom did they project it on? Moses. Who became the target? Moses. And the other people that agreed with Christ. That is what was going on. Those people did not want to let go. They didn't even want to admit they were clinging onto Egypt, an Egypt that didn't even exist anymore. And because they were clinging, they could not look beyond. Seriously, if they would have looked beyond, they would have been, I think if they would have looked beyond, they would have fainted of how fortunate they were. Because I read the history, I read the records, and I think, whoa, these people had it all. But here's the thing, they had it all, but they couldn't benefit from it all because they were not in line with the one who's all that. Christ is all that. So if you want it all, you ought to agree with him. But they did not want to agree with Christ. That's why even though they had all the advantages, they could not operate in it. Instead of operating in the advantages, they were accursing themselves and bringing darkness onto them. They were attracting demons onto them. Those same demons that the Egyptians were worshipping. They were sold out to Egypt. They were traumatically bonded to Egypt, and they didn't want to admit they were traumatically bonded. I mentioned before, you can't change people that don't want to admit they need deliverance. Just look at the history of the Israelites. That's proof enough. Well, that's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ, no matter what resistance comes against you, and be at peace.